We're live.
Hello everybody and welcome to the UCD Smurfit Business School Admissions webinar. So just before we begin, we'd love to introduce ourselves. So my name is Laura, I'm an MSc Admissions Manager at the school, and I'm joined today by my colleague Richard Murphy, who's also Admissions Manager at the school.
Hi there, you're very welcome.
So during our webinar today, we're going to discuss the MSc programs that are available at the school. We'll also talk you through the application process, how you apply, and give you some tips through the application process as well. We'll then talk about some of the scholarships that are still available to apply for, and then we're going to finish with some frequently asked questions. There is an opportunity as well to ask questions throughout the webinar, so you just need to post them in the Q&A part, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. So just a little bit of information about our school. So we're Ireland's leading and top-ranked business school. We have master programs that are consistently ranked within the Financial Times and the Economist Top 100. We do have various ranges of MSc Business Master Programs. We have over 20 MSc programs. The majority of programs are full-time over 1 year. There is on some programs the opportunity to study them over 2 years, which would be our part-time programs. We do have a global alumni network of over 100,000 alumni. At Smurfit, careers are very important to us, and we do have a dedicated careers team that are available to our students throughout the year, and they'll be able to help with career search, looking for job opportunities, also interview prep or CV prep as well, and they also hold career events throughout the year as well. So as I said, there are various MSc master programs at the school. So this is a list of all our MSc programs. And we also have where your undergraduate degree and your eligibility to apply for some of the programs. So for example, we have masters in accounting, in finance, management, marketing. And what's really interesting about our school is that you don't have to study business before to study a master's at our school. So as you can see on the screen here, if you've studied business before, there are a lot of master programs you can apply for. But if you haven't studied business before, you can still apply for a lot of our master programs as well. When you're looking at picking a master program, it's really important to look at the career opportunities that you will get from these master programs. So there's lots of information on our website about the different career opportunities from each of our masters. There's information as well about the knowledge and the business skills that you're going to gain. And there's also where you can talk directly to a student who's currently studying the program as well. And we really strongly recommend that, because it's really important to make sure that you research your master program and know that it's the right masters before you even make your application. So a lot of research needs to be done before you pick your master program. And again, you're looking at your career opportunities, what exactly you're going to learn, the knowledge and business skill set that you're going to acquire as well throughout your master program. And then once you've done that, then you can apply and make your application. And if you haven't studied business before and you're not sure what kind of masters you're thinking of, we've just highlighted a few of the masters here. So our marketing masters, you don't need to have studied business before. We have a specific management masters as well, which is for people that haven't studied business in their undergraduate degree, and you're going to learn all about accounting, finance, management, marketing. So you'll learn about all the different business modules. Again, our marketing programs, we have 4 marketing programs, and then project, strategic and supply chain management as well. So they're for students that haven't studied business. It might be some programs you might want to look at. As well, we also have our finance programs. So again, you don't have to study business to apply for a finance program. So you might have done a maths-based degree. So something like engineering, physics, science, statistics. So that might be something as well. Our finance programs might be something that you'd like to look at as well there. But what's really just important to note is that you don't have to have studied business to study a master's at Smurfit. And this is a really good starting point to have a look at what your degree is and maybe what programs you might want to look at applying for. Then go do your research about the programs. So our event today, there's lots of videos with our academic directors. We also have webinars with our careers team as well. So there's lots of information there about our programs and the career opportunities from each of them as well. And then when you've made your decision, which MSc you'd like to apply for, then you would start your admissions process. So everything is done online. We do require some documents and we'll talk through them as well. There are 2 essay questions and then you hear back from the admissions team. So overall, the application should only take an hour or so to complete once you have all your documents ready before you make your application. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk you through the process, and Richard's going to give you some tips about applying. And we'll just first of all start with the online application. So everything is done online. So if you're applying for an MSc program or you're applying for some of our scholarships, that's all done through our online application system. And you can log back in at any time and check for updates on your application. So Richard, do you have any tips about the online application?
Sure. Yeah, just to use a desktop or laptop device, as I say there. It's like a lot of people are trying to potentially use their phones these days, and they've improved a lot in the last few years. But I think if you're trying to upload large PDFs of transcripts and other sort of documentation, it can get a bit finicky. So try to use a desktop or laptop. I think is one that a lot of our applicants tell us actually is the best way to do it.
And then the next stage then is the documents. So we do require your academic transcripts. So these are your official results stating the modules that you've taken and also the results that you've gotten in each of these modules. We do need to see all years as well, an up-to-date CV, and then if required, an English language test. So Richard, any tips for the documents?
Yeah, so I think 2 things. One is just to have, kind of like things labeled and named and in order is something that really helps us as admissions managers when we go through thousands of applicants. Every year, it's really nice to see an application that has everything laid out very clearly. So for example, if it's your transcripts, that you want to be combine it all in one PDF and call it all transcripts, or if it's a certain year of your transcripts, call it year 1, year 2, etc. So it's very clear and easy to us as to what's what. And then the second thing I was going to say is just there's obviously some documentation that you might not have ready. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but for example, things like your English language test, you might not have sat that yet, but you can still apply. So although we're right in saying here that you need to have so much documentation ready before you can, do reach out to us and don't delay in submitting your application, because I think a lot of people feel they need to wait until they have either their full years of transcripts got ready or your English language test taken, but there's not quite the case, because we can make you conditional offers. Again, I don't want to preempt what Laura is going to mention in the next slide or 2, but we'll come to that anyway. And also the frequently asked questions, I think is also something that comes a lot up in our Q&A session. So don't forget, as we're talking, please write your questions into the Q&A and we'll be happy to talk to you at the end of those.
And then the next part of the application is the essay style questions. So there are 2 questions that you need to answer, and just really important that you do some research about your program. And Richard, any tips about these questions?
Yeah, it's no secret as to what these questions are. It's not like a test every year and we change them. It's the first question, I'm paraphrasing slightly here, is why should we choose you? It's a very simple question, to be honest, but it's something that we're looking for you to write in details about yourself that we're not going to see maybe in your CV or that's not there in your transcripts. So maybe you could talk things about your leadership. That's something that we look for. So leadership skills, captain of football team, charity work, things like that. So things that maybe make you stand out from maybe another candidate. And then the second question is one that I might sort of say is the one that we put a little bit more emphasis on, which is, where do you see yourself working in 5 years' time? And for this, we want to see, as Laura says there, that you've maybe researched your course, maybe you've gone onto LinkedIn and you've typed in the name of your course in Smurfit and you find out where maybe graduates of the last few years have gone and what kind of roles they're doing. Because what that tells us is that you've researched and you've got a motivation and that you understand what this course is going to get you. So that's why you're applying for this course in particular. And I think that's last piece is really important, that when you are applying, that you really show us that you're motivated for this course in UCD as opposed to anywhere else. And that kind of comes across well for us as admissions managers to see that.
And then the next stage of the application is to submit your application. So just to make sure that you have all the documents that we need before you submit your application. And it also is a €50 application fee. And Richard, any tips on this part?
Yeah, so as Laura says, a €50 application fee allows you to submit for as many courses as you want. Technically, we have about 24 different masters, but I think it's fair to say, Laura, if we see someone who's applied for 24 or 22 or even 10 masters, it kind of tells us that maybe you don't know what it is exactly that you want to do. So, you know, like if you applied for a finance program, supply chain, marketing, all very different courses, it kind of shows us that maybe you don't quite understand what you want to do, or maybe you're not quite motivated for a certain type of course. So pretty much what I said there in the last tip is to make sure that you've kind of done your research before and you know what kind of course you want to apply for. And by research, that's not just, you know, on your own, that's talking to us, it's talking to our current students via our website, it's got attending open days and things like this. So it is important. That just one thing I will say is that, yes, of course, you can apply for more than one, but generally speaking, this will be in scenarios where, for example, we have 4 different marketing programs. So, you know, they're all in marketing, but maybe you've got a first preference of digital marketing, but you're concerned that you don't have enough sort of, you know, maybe background in there. So you put in the MSc in marketing as number 2. And that's the type of scenario where we sort of would say that's fine that you've applied for more than one course there. So hope that kind of explains it.
And then once you submit your application, you'll hear back from the admissions team. So you can log back into your UCD account and you'll see the status of your application has changed. So a full offer basically means that you have finished your degree, you've gotten your final results, and we've issued you a full offer. Conditional would be that maybe that you haven't finished your degree just yet, you're waiting on your final results, and we would give you a conditional on getting a certain result, and then a no offer. And we do give feedback on our applications as well. And Richard, just any kind of tips about the results?
Yep, just one thing pretty much we say there, it's not so much a tip, but just I think to be patient as you can. So we've got more applications year on year this year, and that was on top of an increase in the previous year. So every year is getting busier. So it's a good problem to have because we're getting so many more good quality applicants from around the world, but it just slows down the application process. So it can take an average about 3 weeks. But it depends on your region that you're applying from, because sometimes the applications have to go through a local regional office before they even come to us, which adds a little bit more time. So, you know, I think the most important thing I can say is this, you know, don't bother emailing us to say, have you got an application or what's the status? We will obviously get back to you. And at any stage, you can log into your student information system web account, the place where you apply for your course, to see the current status. And you also get notifications then when a result is given. So you get a notification automatically by the system, and you'll also get an email directly from us as well. So really just, if I can say it, just be patient, we will get through to you.
And if you're given a full offer or a conditional offer, you do have 2 weeks to accept your place and pay a deposit. So on majority of our MSc programs, it's €500. On certain MSc programs, it would be €1,000. And just Richard, any tips about accepting?
Yeah, just accept and pay your deposit as soon as you can. Most people do. I think most people accept within the first 2 days, because generally speaking, most people are very happy and excited that they've been got an offer, and that's great. But obviously, you may also be considering other places. So just bear that in mind, because you do have 2 weeks. We are quite strict on that, because as I said to you already, we have a lot of people applying and waiting for places. So generally, if you get offered a place with us, we are quite strict on having those 2 weeks to accept. And just one quick note, the acceptance deposit is 2 things on that. 1, it is a deposit off your fees. It's not an extra fee. And 2 is that it is non-refundable in all circumstances, except for 1, which is that if you are in a conditional offer, so in other words, if you're waiting for maybe for your final result or maybe for a score for English language, and you don't get the required score that we ask for, only in that circumstance is the deposit refunded. But obviously, unfortunately, you wouldn't have a place here either, but that's quite rare. So hopefully that won't be that.
So that's the end of the admissions process. And now we're going to move on to scholarships. So we do have a few scholarships still open. So a few of our scholarships have closed already. So our applications open the 1st of October every year. So we are quite near the end of our application. So if you are thinking of applying for an MSc program, we would say try and apply as soon as you can. And we do have a few scholarships still open. So we have our UCD Alumni tuition reduction. So that's a 5% reduction of your fees. And that's for students that have studied at UCD, their undergrad degree. That's automatically taken off your fees when you apply to the school and get an offer. And we do have some merit-based scholarships. So what merit-based means is they're based on your academic results, so your final results. So these are open until the 1st of August. So there's 2 merit-based ones. There's ones for UCD graduates, so that's students that have studied at UCD. And then we also have a non-UCD graduate merit-based scholarship, and they're for students that have studied within an institution in Ireland. So they're both open at the moment till the 1st of August. So if you make an MSc application and you're eligible for these scholarships, you can log back into your UCD account and submit an application, but before August 1st. So they're the 2, they're merit-based ones. So again, they're based on your academic results. And we do take into consideration as well your application for your MSc program too. We also have sports scholarships. So this is for students that will be studying with us in September and also competing within sports as well. So you do need to make an application for this sports scholarship too. And what you'll see is when you make your MSc application and you log back into the system, it'll show you the scholarships and then you can apply there. If you have any questions about scholarships, you can ask them in the Q&A. We also have lots of information on our website as well. So there are other scholarships that are more specifically for some of our MSc programs. So you'll see them on our website. You'll see the opening, closing dates and eligibility as well. But a lot of our scholarships will be what we call merit-based. They're based on your academic results. So that's our scholarships that are still available at the school. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the frequently asked questions. So these are questions that we get asked in admissions. So we're going to go through these now. And then what we'll do is we will move on to the question and answers part. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A and Richard will hopefully answer them at the end of the presentation. So this is our first question. So can I apply for more than one course? So the answer to this is yes. So you can apply for more than one course. So we do have a wide range of courses. So for example, if you're looking at one of the marketing programs, you might want to apply for 2 of them. So you can apply for both of them under the same application fee of €50. You can then also preference them 1 and 2. And then what we do is we'll look at your first preference and assess your application that way. So you can apply for more than one course, but what we do recommend is kind of limiting it to 2 or 3 if you are applying for more than one. Then the next question is, when should I apply? So we are still open for applications, but we would say try and apply as soon as you can, because we have been open for applications since October 1st, 2020 for this September, and we have seen a significant increase in applications. It does take sometimes 2 to 3 weeks to hear back from us as well. So just to take that into consideration too. So if you are applying, try apply as soon as you can. There are some scholarships still available. So we've mentioned the merit-based ones. And again, you do need to apply for them. So when you're making your MSc application, just remember to go back into your UCD account. And if you want to apply for the scholarships, to apply there. And I might just pass over to Richard just for the last 2 questions.
Sure, yeah. And how do I accept my place? We kind of touched that already. You just simply log into your SES web account, and that's the place where you made your application first. You'll also get an email from us when you get offered, and you'll also get a notification from the system. So there's plenty of instructions between the automatic notification and on the email that we send you. And generally it's how you accept your place is by paying the €500 non-refundable deposit off your fees. You submit that and then that accepts your place. And then the last question is, can I speak to a current student? So we have an ambassador scheme now at the moment where we have about 82 ambassadors, student ambassadors currently, students on our programs, and pretty much all of our courses are represented by our ambassadors, and we have about 19 different nationalities. So it's a really good opportunity to speak to someone that maybe is coming from your country, or maybe that's on a course that you want to do. And I'll put the link to that in the chat box in just a minute. So yeah, we'll do that. I think that's the questions in it, Laura.
Great, thank you. And then if you want to contact us directly, so our email is smurfit.admissions@ucd.ie, and we'll answer any questions that you have there. If you have any questions about the scholarships or about the applications or about our programs, so you can email us directly there. So it's smurfit.admissions@ucd.ie, and also our website, thesmurfitschool.ie, and that there you'll be able to find information about all our MSc programs. You can go into each program, see the modules that you'll study, how the modules are delivered. There'll also be information about careers. And also we have videos from our academic directors that talk about the program as well. So really good, useful information there as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our Q&A part of the webinar. So if you have any questions at all, you can post them in the Q&A. And what we'll do is we'll call them out and we'll answer them as well.
Might just start off the first question. I've been answering a few of them there, and a few that are quite specific to the particular person. So anything like that, maybe it's best that we take that offline, and I've included a few details there. So just the first one here is just in relation to the number of applications we get for digital marketing, as the seats are about 133 per the website, just to get an idea of admission. So we don't publish our details such as the amount of applications we get or acceptance rates. But I will say that our digital marketing is, I think it's actually the #1 most popular course that we have out of our 24 masters, that and business analytics. Those two courses would be quite in demand, shall we say. So the seats or the spaces we have for those courses were increased this year because obviously things changed to remote learning, so we were able to do that a little bit. However, now that it looks like we're going back to normal face-to-face teaching, what will happen is we're going to actually run 2 cohorts of those courses. So the actual class size will be reduced because we'll be running 2 streams of the same program. That's still to be confirmed, but that's what looks likely to happen. So to be honest with you, to get an idea as to how easy it is, if you like, to get there, it's impossible to say, because again, it depends on a number of different factors, such as where you're coming from, when in the year you apply. But all I'll say is, if you haven't applied already, and say, for example, if it's close to your region, we reopen our applications every year on the 1st of October for the following September. So it's the 1st of October. So obviously it's a first come, first served basis. So, you know, definitely get your application in as early as you can. It is actually the fairest way to do admissions. It allows those who are probably most motivated to make an application as early as they can and secure their seat well early in the year. So I hope that's helped to answer that particular question. Just moving on there, Laura, just there's some, sorry, because anonymous names come, no name, the first question you asked here, I'm not entirely sure what that's related to. Maybe you could put back the question in. If it's something that we've already sort of answered, you might maybe ask again. And then next question is how to watch the playback of today's presentation. So all this content will be available on demand then through a link that will be sent to you after this event is over, but generally through the same event page link that you've already been sent. So you'll see all that. But to be honest with you, if there's other questions that you have that if we weren't able to answer today at this, there's 2 things I'll say. One is that we have a drop-in session every Friday from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. The details for that are up on our website. In fact, actually, I'll paste that into the chat box now, as well as the student ambassadors contacts. So I'll actually do that now, and maybe Laura might leave the next question to you then. Yeah, perfect.
So this is questions about if you've missed a webinar that was today. So if you see on our website under the events section, you'll see that all the events that we do throughout the year, we record them. So you can see the events there, and any webinars that you haven't seen today, they'll be available in the next few weeks. So you'll be able to watch the webinars there. There's a question, if you've accepted a place on a course, but then you've decided that you want to apply for another course, can you do that? So yes, you can. And the only thing is, though, that it can take a couple of weeks to hear back from us. If you do get a place.
Laura, actually, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Just one thing to bear in mind again, it depends if it's open, if the course still has places is the most important thing, really. Sorry, Laura, for cutting across you, but just to say that it's generally no problem if you want to change your courses as long as your space is there. And then, as Laura mentioned, it will take extra time, but also most importantly, if the course is open to your particular region. So, that's just a few things there. So I think definitely the best thing to do is to email us as soon as you can. And we can take that. So drop an email with your application number to smurfit.admissions@ucd.e. Sorry, Laura, is there anything else you want to say on that? I cut across you.
Yeah, exactly. That's really kind of what you were saying there, Richard. So probably it's best to kind of contact us and we'll see if there's still spaces on it. If there is, then we can talk to you about that. That's probably the best to do there. So we've just a few questions about our intercultural development program. So yeah, so that's available to students that are starting the MSCs in 2021. So yeah, you just apply for that. And what you'll do is you'll get an email throughout the summer, and there'll probably be, some more information on a webinar for that program, and they'll tell you how you sign up and register for it as well. So it's a really good program, and we definitely recommend, registering for it and partaking in it throughout the year.
And the Global Leadership program.
Yeah, exactly. We have a global leadership program as well. So they're both available to our MSc students starting in September 2021. We have a few questions about eligibility for programs. So for example, for our finance programs, you would want to have studied some quantitative modules. So that's, kind of finance within your degree. So kind of quantitative statistic modules. So what we'd need to see there is we'd actually just need to see your academic transcript. So we'd need to see your application, and then we could see there, have you taken enough quantitative subjects especially just for our finance programs, and we do look for quantitative modules within your degree. So again, I suppose eligibility wise, if you check our website, it's very clear about what each program, what the eligibility is. But for our finance programs, you really would have to study some quantitative modules for that one.
Yeah, and we do have a holistic approach to our admissions, so it's not just based on your previous undergrad. Like for example, as well, we might say, look, you look quite motivated and you might be a good fit, but you don't have those quantitative modules. So we might set you a Gmat test to do, because Gmat tests are quite quantitative by their nature. So there's a few things, and particularly if you're looking for next year, there's plenty of time maybe to do some of the extra, jump over the extra hurdles we might have to set you in order to get entry into the program. So that's another key advantage about applying early every year, is that if, for example, you don't necessarily meet the requirements straight away, it allows you maybe to do one or two things we might recommend to get a place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the next question is just about paying your fees. So it really depends on, as well, if you have a visa, some of visas require that you pay a certain amount of your fees before you apply for your visa. And if it's not a requirement for your visa, they are spread over 3 payments, so September, January, and May. So you can spread your payments over those 3 semesters. But it's very important to check your visa requirements, because some visa requirements you have to have a certain amount of your tuition fee paid. I hope that one helps there.
And Cynthia, you've just asked, you received not from paid the €500 fee acceptance fee, but you've had an issue and we won't be able to attend this year. So sorry to hear that. Can you defer your offer to next year? So again, it just depends on a few different things. Normally, Smurfit don't offer a deferral process, but since COVID came in, we were trying to be more flexible. So it just depends. We take it on a case-by-case basis. If we don't ask for evidence or proof, but if you can drop an email into smurfit.admissions@ucd.e outlining the general reason as to why you wish to defer, then there's a few things around that. first thing first is you still have to meet all the conditions of your offer. So for example, if it's a full offer, then that won't be a problem. But if it's a conditional offer, then you have to meet the conditions. So for example, you'd have to submit your final transcripts or your English language, and most importantly, have paid the fee, which you have, and then it will turn to a deferral, which basically means your place is safe for the following year. Now, if that isn't the case here, you can cancel. You cancel your place, the deposit would stay in UCD to use again at another stage. And then from the 1st of October, you would then make a new application, which we would waive the application fee. So it's no extra cost. It's really straightforward. You pretty much copy and paste the same stuff in as you did this year. Then there's no guarantee that we'd be able to offer you a place. But all I'll say is that statistically, if you apply early and you were received an offer the previous year, there's a good chance you'll get it again for the following year. And then we'd apply the deposit to the following year. But I think, as I said, it's a very much a case-by-case basis for deferrals. So you need to email in smurfit.admissions@ucd.e as soon as you can with your application number.
And we just have a question about how the modules are going to be delivered next year. So how our MSc programs are going to be delivered. So at the moment, we currently have online learning. So that's what the government has told universities. That's been the last semester. We are hoping for face-to-face teaching in September. However, it hasn't been just finalized just yet. I know Richard had some kind of points there as well. You might.
Yeah. I'll be slightly more optimistic. so there's a UMT, University Management Team, which is basically the president and registrar and a few others at the top, and they're linked with government. Obviously, we have to adhere to government restrictions and advice, being a public university, obviously. So there's two things I'll say. First thing first is that we got an email, staff anyway. It's not public just yet, but just to say to anyone listening now, to say that we are planning for normal face-to-face teaching for September, and to go ahead and plan for that as the number one option. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball. If there happens to be some crazy new variation or variant of the disease, we don't know how things might turn out by September. But in Ireland, currently, the situation is going very well. The vaccine rollout is doing really good. The case numbers are dropping. The country is reopening, and I think by next month there'll be a lot of sort of pretty nearly a normal standard of living again, with everything from hospitality to travel. So things are quite positive. And then last night, actually, the Minister for Higher Education, whose basically job it will be to decide whether universities can fully reopen, he actually announced last night that he is confident that normal face-to-face teaching will take place from September. So I think it's something that there's a lot of positivity around that. Obviously, there is no final decision on that as yet, because we're still quite far out. But all I'll say is keep checking back to our websites, both Smurfit website, which has a lot of information on it. You'll see it updated. And then also open the main UCD website as well. Plus, if you're a current offer holder, you'll obviously be getting lots of information sent to you. So look, I think the signs are positive, but we obviously can't be able to tell you today that it is definitely guaranteed it's going to be face-to-face. Just keep in contact with us is what we can say to that.
And I know we just have a few questions about the applications. Is there a closing date? So we don't technically have a closing date. They're done on a rolling admissions. But if you are thinking of applying, we would definitely recommend try apply as soon as you can. And just to bear in mind, it can take a couple of weeks to hear back from the admissions team as well regarding your application. I know there was some questions about Gmat. So a Gmat, it isn't a requirement as part of the application process. But we may, for maybe some of our finance programs, we may recommend that you would take a Gmat, especially just maybe for some of the finance programs, but we would let you know, but you don't need a Gmat if you are applying.
Yeah, and I think just there's the bottom question, there's a slight sort of, maybe part I missed from that is just, can you say how the tri-semester courses are planned for the year month-wise? So basically it's the timetables which you're looking for. So if you're current offer holder, you should be able to log into your student portal And at the moment, the timetables, because obviously there's been such flux and change in the last year with things going online to now things going back to hopefully face to face. You know, the timetables aren't up yet, but you're sort of, I think the reason why you're asking that is, you know, do you get time for a part-time job is your kind of question. So look, I think two things really quickly about that. Depends again on where you're coming from in the world, but generally speaking, your visa will allow you to work. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head, but I think it's something like 20, 22, 24 hours. So basically, you know, sort of 2 days per week if you need a visa. And obviously if you're coming from, you know, Europe, then obviously that's no concern. So you know, you can get part-time jobs, and students do get part-time jobs. There, you know, there is enough time generally during the week. Now, as admissions managers, we'll pretend that we didn't hear that, because, you know, what we want to see is that you're fully motivated for the course, and that, you know, you'll do whatever needs to be done to make sure that you'll excel in your course. And I think with that, I will just obviously say myself that, you know, you are, you know, paying for a large investment to come here, to study here, to live and work here for maybe the next year or more. So all I'll say is make sure that any sort of job or, you know, things like that don't get in the way of the number one reason why you're here, which is to study and hopefully, you know, get a really good career started from getting good results in your program. But generally speaking, you should have enough time to do some form of part-time work. And a lot of students relate that back to maybe the current course. So again, if you're doing a finance course, you know, you could put out through the industry connections that you get here in the school that maybe you're doing a research project on this particular area. You know, some people have got some sort of consultancy work as part of that. So there's no guarantees, obviously, but and then just lots, and there will be lots of casual work again, as particularly as the country reopens.
And we also have a question just about the MSc Quantitative Finance program. Does it start earlier than the other MSc programs? Is there a timetable? So to answer that question, yes. So our finance programs tend to start a week earlier than our other MSc programs, because you have to do a week of finance modules and maths modules as well. So it's just to get you started for the MSc program. So it's really important that you attend those lectures. So it does start a little bit earlier. If you are a current like offer holder, you will be able to access your timetable in the incoming student portal. So you'll be able to see that. So that will be in the next coming weeks. You'll see it there. So yes.
Laura, I've just pasted in, sorry, Laura, I've just pasted into in relation to that question for anyone else maybe who's a current offer holder. There's a link here to our program office team who handle this. It's a little sort of connector. So you go to this particular link I've just put into the chat box. So do take a note of that there now if you can. If you're a current offer holder, obviously that's where you go, because as I said, the timetables probably are not up on your portal yet, but they will certainly be able to give you the academic calendar for the year, which should be available. So as far as I know, top of my head, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the classes are starting the 13th of September. Again, things just, you know, could change ever so slightly, but that is what is being published. The 13th of September is when classes start. The week before that then is your orientation week, and generally what happens is you're in for 1 day of that week. So you don't know, it could be a Monday, it could be a Thursday. We don't know exactly what day yet that might be, but you'll be in for generally just 1 day. And then for some of the finance programs, the week before that, which should be, I think, the last week of August, first week of September, is this kind of a maths boot camp. So it's one where a lot of the quantitative modules across the finance programs are delivered quite intensively over the first kind of week. And the idea is to bring you up to speed quite quickly so that you're ready to hit the ground running for the rest of your program. So it's a good one, and obviously it's very much mandatory, and you really do have to be there. Plus, I wouldn't miss it. It might set you back a little bit, but I think all the help and assistance is generally always there from the program office team. Actually, just one question there, Laura, I might as well just say there now, is there an option to take the course online rather than in the classroom? So that's a good question. And the way, as Laura mentioned, things have been obviously for the last year because of, the COVID situation to be quite serious. Us and most universities around the world have been delivering an online version of our courses. However, if we do go back to face-to-face, which is looking, very, very likely, there won't be an online option. So you will have to be here face to face, which is the way that we teach normally in Smurfit. Now, bear in mind, before COVID, there was always some level of blended learning anyway through, being a top business school. There were a lot of our lectures were put up online, but there's not delivered online. Big parts to this program and to Smurfit and to the unique experience that you'll have here in Ireland in Smurfit is this kind of very close contacts that with the industry that we have across all of our programs. So it's something that that very much excels with having a face-to-face teaching and learning. So I think no will be the answer to that, and they are quite clear on that one. Well, I just keep going. There's 2 more questions there, Laura. There's about 2 minutes left, I think. Sorry, is there any academic background required for supply chain management? Could no business degree students apply for this program? Yeah, absolutely. Probably, I don't have the stats top of my head, Laura, but you might be aware. I think there's more non-business students apply for supply chain management than there are business background students. That makes sense. We actually, I think for the first time, was it last year, Laura, that we hit more over the whole of our programs. We had more non-business students coming to us than business undergrad students. So that makes sense. So there's, as Laura said at the top of this presentation, there's lots and lots of options for those who don't have a business background. Supply chain management, because of the nature of it, a lot of people will come into that maybe from engineering backgrounds, even sort of like food business backgrounds. It's a really diverse course. It's great. There's a very diverse cohort of students there. So generally, no, you don't need to have a business background to get into supply chain. And Naveen, thank you. You're very welcome. It's good. I hope we were helpful for you today. And just at the very bottom, there's any scholarships available to Honduran students. There's not a specific Honduran scholarship, but we don't have a scholarship for every country. I've been honest, we probably wouldn't get a huge amount of students from Honduras, but you'd be very welcome. The one that would have twigged in my mind was there's a academic excellence scholarship, which is sort of regional. So, Americas, Europe, there's a number of scholarships. It don't have to be, country specific. The only problem with that one is that it is basically closed at this stage for this year. So for this intake, that's pretty much closed unless you're already an offer holder and that you were accepted by the 31st of May, in which case you would be in the running for it. It's something that you don't need to apply for. Anyone who in the school who's accepted by the 31st of May is in the running, and we in the admissions office go through thousands of applications all over again to try to select some of the top applicants to award some scholarships for. But I think just a big thing we always say, don't we, Laura, with regards to scholarships, look, they are very competitive. We do actually have quite a large amount of scholarships across. If you I don't have the link pasted in, do I, Laura? There, I think I do. Actually, do I? Yes, I do. Back in the chat, it's the first link. If you click on the scholarships link, you'll see the amount of scholarships that we normally run. But there's a lot, but there's a lot of people who either apply for them or who are considered for them. And because we're top ranked business school, everyone is a very high caliber. So the one piece of advice we always try to give to you is when you are thinking of coming to us, don't rely on having a scholarship in order to fund your program. If you get it, it's a really good, prestigious bonus, but you need to make sure that you can try to fund the program without the aid of a scholarship. So hope to be too negative, but hopefully that helps answer your question. I think we're pretty much at the end of the questions there now. We're probably, we're about 30 seconds left, so we probably need to wrap this up, Laura. So I might just stop talking and hand it back to you.
Thank you. So yeah, if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us. So our email is smurfit.admissions@ucd.ie. And just thank you again for joining our webinar today. And thank you, Richard, as well, for joining the webinar. And we look forward to seeing your applications. And thank you very much. Bye.